How NVIDIA's CEO accidentally built the future. This is Jensen Huang. Today, he's the iconic, leather jacket-wearing CEO of a multi-trillion-dollar empire, the man literally powering the entire AI revolution. But his story didn't start in Silicon Valley. It started here. A reform school for troubled kids in Kentucky, a place he and his brother landed by complete mistake. So how does a kid who was once a dishwasher, and a self-admitted bad student, become the architect of our future? Well, it turns out the core philosophies that built NVIDIA weren't forged in a boardroom. They were born from a series of unfortunate events and one pivotal, world-changing bet. The story kicks off not with a flash of genius, but with a simple misunderstanding. In the early 1970s, social unrest in Thailand pushed Jensen Huang's parents to send him and his older brother to the United States for a better life. Their relatives in the US were supposed to enroll them in a prestigious prep school. Instead, they accidentally sent 9-year-old Jensen to the Oneida Baptist Institute in rural Kentucky, a reform school. It was about as far from a privileged upbringing as you can get. His daily chore wasn't homework, it was cleaning every toilet in his dorm. He was an outsider who was bullied in a place he never should have been. Yet, looking back, Huang doesn't see himself as a victim. He sees the foundation of his entire philosophy. He learned resilience. He learned how to endure and, more importantly, how to find an opportunity in the middle of adversity. He learned that to survive, you have to be tough, and to thrive, you have to be resourceful. That 2-year ordeal, a complete accident, gave him a kind of grit that 1,000 elite boarding schools never could. After his parents arrived in the US, the family reunited in Oregon. Jensen, now free from his accidental hardship, channeled his energy. He became a nationally ranked table tennis player by 14 and was even featured in Sports Illustrated. He flew through high school, graduating at just 16, and went on to earn an electrical engineering degree from Oregon State University, where he met his future wife, Lori. After that, he got a master's from Stanford and started designing microchips at companies like AMD and LSI Logic. But those lessons from Oneida, the need to solve problems from the ground up and face reality head-on, stuck with him. He didn't know it yet, but he was being perfectly prepared for a company that would nearly die on multiple occasions. Flash forward to 1993. Jensen Huang is 30 years old. He and his friends, fellow engineers Chris Malachowski and Curtis Preem, meet up at a Denny's in San Jose. Over coffee and cheap breakfast, they decided to start a company. With just $40,000, they chased a wild idea, creating specialized chips that would bring realistic 3D graphics to video games. They called their company NVIDIA, from the Latin word invidia, meaning envy. They were determined to make products so good, they'd be the envy of the entire industry. But in the brutal world of Silicon Valley, envy doesn't come easy. Their first product, the NV1, was a commercial flop. It tried to do everything, graphics, audio, and a game controller port on one card, but it was built on a rendering technology the market just didn't want. The company was bleeding cash. They had bet it all on one vision, and the world essentially said, no, thanks. They were just a few months away from going completely broke. It was NVIDIA's first, but definitely not its last, near-death experience. The pressure was insane. Competitors were miles ahead, and their bank account was racing toward zero. This is the point where most founders would have folded, sold what was left, and walked away. But Jensen Huang wasn't like most founders. He had already survived his own near-death experience in Kentucky. So he made a brutal, but necessary, choice. He laid off half the company and scraped together every last dollar they had to bet on one more chip design. This wasn't just a business move, it was a philosophy forged in hardship. When you're staring down failure, you don't hedge. You focus, you commit, and you fight your way out. That do-or-die bet was on a chip called the Riva 128. It was a gamble that paid off, big time. It was fast, it was powerful, and it put NVIDIA on the map in 1997. But that was just the opening act. The real revolution, the moment that truly defined NVIDIA, came in 1999. The company introduced a chip called the GeForce 256. And they didn't just call it a graphics card. They invented a whole new term for it, the GPU, or Graphics Processing Unit. Now, this wasn't just slick marketing. It was a fundamental reimagining of how a computer works. For decades, the brain of the computer was the CPU, the Central Processing Unit. A CPU is like a brilliant, highly paid surgeon. You can give it a very complex task, and it will execute it step by step with incredible precision. But it can only handle a few tasks at once. A GPU, on the other hand, is completely different. It's like an army of interns. You can't ask them to solve a single, PhD-level problem. But you can give them thousands of simpler, repetitive tasks, like figuring out the color of every single pixel on a screen, and they'll get them all done at the same time. This concept is called parallel processing. And while it was designed to make video games look incredible, Jensen Huang had a hunch it could be used for so much more. This invention not only saved the company from the dot-com bust that wiped out so many of its rivals, but it also set the stage for a pivot so visionary that almost no one saw it coming. It's this ability to see around corners that defines true innovators. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve on how technology is shaping our world, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We break down these complex stories every week. By the mid-2000s, NVIDIA was the king of graphics. Gamers loved them, and the company was successful and profitable. The easy move would have been to just keep making faster gaming chips. But Jensen Huang saw something else on the horizon. He realized the parallel processing power of his GPUs wasn't just for making games look pretty. It was a whole new type of computing. He became convinced that one day, this architecture would be used to solve some of the world's biggest scientific problems. So, he made one of the riskiest bets in tech history. He poured billions of dollars and years of R&D into a software platform called CUDA. CUDA was essentially a programming language that let developers unlock the massive parallel power of NVIDIA's GPUs for general-purpose computing. Wall Street hated it. Investors were furious. They wanted NVIDIA to stick to its profitable core business, not burn cash on some science project. The market for this kind of computing barely even existed. For years, it looked like a colossal mistake. Huang was building a key for a lock that hadn't been invented yet. He was telling his company to ignore the short-term profits and the angry calls from shareholders. He was asking them to trust him on a decade-long journey into the unknown. This is where his leadership really shone. He built a culture of courage and resilience, telling his employees their job wasn't just to make money, but to create technology that could achieve the impossible. He believed that if they did that, the money would follow. This unwavering commitment, especially when everyone is telling you you're wrong, is what separates a manager from a visionary. For nearly a decade, the CUDA bet looked like a very expensive hobby. Then, around 2012, everything changed. A field of research that had been bubbling away in academic labs for years suddenly exploded into the mainstream: artificial intelligence. Specifically, a technique called deep learning. And as it turned out, The best way to train these new AI models was to feed them massive amounts of data and have them perform millions of simple, repetitive calculations at the same time. Sound familiar? It was the exact type of work the GPU was built for. All at once, Jensen Huang's science project was no longer a science project. It was the key that unlocked the entire AI revolution. The lock had finally been invented, and Huang had been holding the key for 10 years. When companies like Google, and later OpenAI, started building the large language models that run tools like ChatGPT, they didn't use CPUs. They used thousands and thousands of NVIDIA GPUs. The AI boom wasn't just enabled by NVIDIA, it was powered almost exclusively by them. That decade-long, multi-billion-dollar bet on CUDA paid off on a scale that nobody, maybe not even Jensen Huang himself, could have fully imagined. NVIDIA wasn't just a gaming company anymore. It had accidentally, or perhaps clairvoyantly, built the indispensable engine of the 21st century. By June 2024, NVIDIA had briefly become the most valuable public company in the world, surpassing giants like Microsoft and Apple. From a mistaken placement in a Kentucky reform school to the head of the most important company of the AI era, Jensen Huang's journey is almost unbelievable. He built an empire not in spite of his early challenges, but because of them. The resilience he learned cleaning toilets became the corporate culture that survived near bankruptcy. The focus he learned as a young, competitive athlete became the visionary strategy that bet an entire company on a future nobody else could see. The story of NVIDIA is proof that you don't have to follow the conventional path to do something incredible. It's a story of how embracing failure, trusting your gut, and committing to a long-term vision can literally change the world. Huang's leadership proves that your circumstances don't define you, how you respond to them does. The future wasn't built in a sterile lab or a pristine boardroom. It was built by a man in a leather jacket who learned his most valuable lessons from a lucky mistake. So as we stand at the start of a new industrial revolution powered by AI, the big question remains, where does this technology take us next? Are we about to solve humanity's greatest challenges, or have we just opened Pandora's box? Let me know what you think in the comments below.